everyone. I'm Priya, and I run the $1 Million Fitness Podcast, where we get to hear boutique fitness studio entrepreneurs share their stories, secrets, and insights. Because let's face it, starting a fitness business out of passion is one thing, but growing it into a profitable brand is a whole lot of sleepless nights. Today, we're interviewing Tara Loney, a fitness business consultant and founder of the Aerial Art podcast. My colleague Nihal talks to Tara about things studio owners cannot miss while getting started. Do listen till the end and don't forget to follow our podcast for more insights from fitness industry experts.
Without much ado, Tara, take us through your journey.
Hi. First off, thank you so much for bringing me on. I'm super honored to be here today. It's been a while since I've been in front of a microphone, so forgive me if I'm a little bit nervous. But yeah, so just a little bit about my journey. I started my business almost 5 years ago. And also at the same time decided to hit the road and travel full time. So I live in an RV and I'm currently sitting outside of Grand Teton National Park with a gorgeous
Mhm.
view and super,
Sure.
super grateful to be here. How I got started was when my husband and I decided that we wanted to hit the road. I was teaching pole dance and loved teaching pole dance. I knew that I wanted to do something to stay connected to the industry, but I didn't really know like exactly which direction I wanted to go in. At the time, I had started working with an agency on digital marketing remotely, but I wasn't involved in working in the business of fitness. So I started a podcast because I looked around and I noticed that what the aerial industry didn't have was a podcast about business. We had podcasts about journey and how people got there, but nothing that dove into marketing. So I decided I wanted to start this podcast. And what I did was I traveled around while we were on the road and interviewed studio owners, traveling artists, and pole based businesses in the industry about how they did what they did and how they grew their business, kind of like what we're talking about here. And
Yeah.
it was surprisingly the most amount of work I've ever done
Uh-huh.
because at this
Okay.
time it was like before AI tools were really in
Yeah.
in podcasting. So
Yeah.
it was very labor intensive, but it was also the best thing I could have done for my business. I had no idea at the time, but I was almost while I was interviewing these studio owners, they were kind of getting to see the skills that I had as far as like putting together an entire podcast, producing it and putting it out to the public, with my website and everything like that. And it almost became an interview for me as well. And one person hired me, and that person told somebody else, and that person told somebody else. And 5 years later, I'm fully booked out and cannot take on any more work at this time.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, definitely.
So what aspects of a studio do you take care of when you start working with clients?
Yeah, so it totally depends on the business. I've worked with everything from starting up a pole studio or an aerial business to coming in and looking at what they're currently doing and looking for where we can automate things, kind of remove the studio owner from having to do everything because I feel like notoriously studio owners are doing everything themselves. So looking into their business and finding how we can remove them and streamline things so that they're not spending all their time in their business.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay. Uh, I want to focus on, let's set the agenda a bit, right? So there's obviously the juicy bits of acquiring clients and, making money and growing a business and stuff. But before all of that comes, the whole setup and the operations bit, right? So let's say, someone's been doing, is an instructor for a long time and they want to start a business. What's the typical process like? Who are they, and why would they want to start something like a yoga studio or something else? Any
Yeah.
modality.
So a lot of times, most of the clients that I work with started from having a passion for their fitness, whether it be yoga or pole or aerial or any of one of those. Typically, I find that people are wanting to do it because they want to spend more time doing it. They want to create spaces for other people to do it. And so it's coming from a lot of times a place of passion, not always. And I would always, always, always recommend with a demographic search, look at your areas that you want to have a studio in and start there and start really researching what type of people, what their annual income is, what all of their demographics, and really fine tune your audience avatars so you know exactly who you're talking to and where you want to go. Make sure that there's an actual need for the space and that you're not going to be just in a super heavily oversaturated saturated place. And if you are, make sure to position yourself uniquely from everybody else. Like figure out what it is that makes you different if you're going to be in a saturated market so you can really speak to that. From there, it's a lot of hard work and concerted effort on a daily basis, from finding the place that you want to go to, putting together a business plan, getting whatever loans. I think a lot of studio owners don't realize how much money goes into a build out if the space isn't currently ready. So
Hmm.
definitely getting ready to either pitch investors or get a loan to be able to build out the space. And then getting into the space and building out whatever you need to add in. So whether that be equipment or staff or painting or electrical
Yeah,
or soundproofing or whatever, getting all those things in order. And then really, really being intentional about the software that you choose and how you set that up, and really learning the tools that are available to you in that software. I feel like a lot of software, especially for bookings, are filled with features, but does anybody know how to use them? Like, or are we just finding the ones that work for us and only utilizing those? So really like learning what tools are available to you in your studio software so that you can streamline your business, and also so that you can see reports and know how reports work, so you can see what classes aren't filling once you do launch and what you need to work more on in your business. So then it's launch, and there's so much to do. And when you actually are getting ready for your launch and getting your audience ready and making sure that they're involved in the launch, to actually even maybe hosting a launch event, and yeah, and then continuing the momentum.
got it. So how would I what's like how do I research more about my area in general? And at what point does it seem like it's a saturated market and I shouldn't get into that market or that area?
That's a great question. I think as far as the second part of the question is, if the market is too saturated, it's really going to be, first off, annual income of that area and foot traffic and those sort of things. But also, again, can you uniquely position yourself different from every other studio, and not just saying that your studio is going to be like a safe place or it's going to be different because it's going to be teaching tricks, but like actually honing in on the exact message that you want to put across and really being different from what everybody else is offering. There's a beautiful studio in Austin, Texas. They're Minx and Muse, and they are a super unique studio. They don't have mirrors in their space, and it's a pole dancing studio. And they're more of like a coven than a studio, and they have really, really positioned themselves with different offerings. It's not just pole dance, it's embodiment classes, it's journaling classes, all these different areas that you can dive into. And they've, even in a market with probably 4 or 5 other studios and not a huge area. Um, they've really positioned themselves as offering something different. So really fine tuning that messaging. And then as far as researching your area, there's so many tools now. Like Google is your best friend. And then leaning into AI, double check your facts as well. But like also like Gemini is something that I've been using more recently. That's Google's AI, and it's great for searching for things like anything and doing market research.
Got it. Okay. So for viewers who want to just start out, right? So they want to understand. So when it comes to specific business models, let's say e-commerce, it's something that's very out there. Everybody understands it by now, how that model is like. You need logistics, you need a lot of those. Uh, you need inventory, you need a website and things like that. But you know, when it comes to fitness studios or boutique fitness, uh, it's sort of something that is not out there in the world, right? So if you had to explain what this whole business model is like, we understand that it's group classes, there's memberships and things like that. But how does it differ from a typical, let's say, a gym or some other kind of fitness model?
Yeah, for I'm going to speak to pole and aerial specifically because those are the two that I
Hmm.
work with the most. It's a boutique business. There's a lot of different equipment that comes into play. There's a lot of specialized education that comes in. These aren't just a lot of times these aren't spaces that people are just walking into and using by themselves. They're coming in and interacting with the instructors and actually the staff as well. So it's different in so many ways because I think it pulls from a bunch of different industries. I feel like there is parts of the business that can be e-commerce depending on where you are in the industry. There's, getting foot traffic in the door, um, the tech behind everything. Yeah, so it's incredibly different than like just a regular brick and mortar gym that you're coming into and purchasing a membership for and coming in once or twice a month and doing things on your own versus this is a little bit more labor intensive where you're working with people either in group classes or one-on-one.
Got it. And do your clients or members pay monthly, yearly?
It
Is there?
Yeah, it's really across the board and it depends on the
Mhm.
studio. There's one studio that I work with, Sada, in New York City, and they are more on a rental basis. So you're able to come in and rent the space as long as you're insured and you fill out the necessary paperwork. And you can host classes or rent the space for content creation or photo shoots or anything like that. So they offer classes as well, but more of their business is coming from the rental side. So that marketing and is a little bit different than what I do for your everyday pole, not everyday pole studio, but your pole studio that's hosting group classes and privates and parties more.
And how big are these communities where I can go and gather and learn more about such things?
Um, are you talking like individual studios or?
Uh, I mean, you're more involved in the aerial industry, right? So where do I find uh, people who've made it and
Yeah.
experts who exist so that I can continue to learn from them? I can see trends, all kinds of things that I can use to start out or improve my profit margins or operations, whatever it is. Like how do I make myself better in my business?
Yeah, I do think that the industry is growing. So now there are a couple of like coaches and consulting agencies within the aerial and pole business. Myself and Elijah Franklin, founder of Black Girls Pole, have a consultancy business where we're offering services to individual studios, and I think there are as well a couple others. Again, I think Google will be your best friend as far as researching for like how you can find a mentor or a coach or a consulting agency, and really just search like poll business coach, aerial business coach, and start with those things, or just reach out to me and we'll take a look at your business.
Got it. Okay, let's take a step back again, and go over starting a business, starting a studio, right? So, how much do I need to start out? Apart from, I mean, let's say I've decided to set it up in a particular area. I'm sure it depends on, the regions and areas and things like that. But uh, what sort of cash flow or cash do I need to start
Yeah.
out apart from the location itself,
Yeah.
the
If
rentals and
you
stuff? Mm.
to be well, it's going to depend for sure. Um I'm seeing anywhere from 40 to 60,000 depending on the build out that you need to do. If you need to do soundproofing, if you need to redo the floors, if you need to put up mirrors, if you need to buy poles or aerial equipment, insurance, music licensing, all the individual website. Yeah, depending on your area, anywhere from 40 to 60,000 plus if it's a bigger market.
Got it.
And
I'm sure it's
again,
going to be crazy
yeah.
in New York.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That
Yeah,
was
and
fun.
what sort of runway should I have? Should it be for 3 months, 6 months, a year?
Um, I think that's going to depend on your audience size. If you have a smaller
Hmm.
audience, I'd recommend in a smaller town, I'd probably recommend a 6-month runway. If you're
Hmm.
in a bigger market where you have a bigger audience, 3 months should about do it, but then keep saving because something's going to
Yeah,
happen. It's not if,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
when.
That's true. That's true. Uh, so what are the biggest fails that I can do when I start out, right? So things that you see are pretty much going to take me downhill.
So one of the things that I see that's like the most underutilized thing in this industry is like not starting an email list the second you decide to start your business. Email list, everybody has an email, everybody checks their email. How often they do it is whatever, but everybody has one and it's never going to be taken away from you. Your Instagram, especially in poll specifically, your Instagram can be shadow banned, your Instagram can be taken down just because of the nature of our needing to show skin and needing to be able to contact to the poll, whereas your email list, no one's going to take it away from you. So that's like one of the biggest things that like breaks my little marketing heart is when I hear that a new poll studio is opening and they haven't put out their email list, even if they're not going to use it right away. Put it out, maybe look into tools. I know Bookie has great email marketing tools. If you're looking for something just free, totally free to begin with, ConvertKit is like my go-to option. They have great landing pages, great pop-up forms. Just start it. The other things that I see is like not being intentional about how you set up your space. So whether that's like choosing some random color on your walls and not really considering that like people are going to be filming and how are the lights going to interact with those colors on the walls, making your space accessible to a variety of different types of people that would come into your space, considering all the different types of people that are going to be in your space, um, and really really being incredibly intentional with how you set up your software.
Got it. All right. Okay, so you touched upon email lists, right? And obviously, like marketing is like a huge uh, juggernaut for a lot of people. It's really hard to understand or to even know where to begin, right? There's obviously you just start with a, let's say, a TikTok or an Instagram page. How do I get them from uh, that, build an audience over there, and then eventually move that audience to an email list. Like it's like a whole new journey, right? So we'll delve a little deeper into that. So and obviously marketing also depends on what stage of the business it is, right? So are you just focusing on improving your margins, or if you're expanding, or when you're expanding, you'll have to start worrying about building a brand and stuff, right? So we'll go over over them one by one. But before we do all that, let's talk about the typical customer, right? So do you just work with aerials, or do you also cater to different kinds of businesses? Because depending on that, we can talk about the particular demographic.
It started with aerial,
Hmm.
but I also work with a variety of different types of clients. Everything
Hmm.
from I have a tax preparation person that does tax prep for digital nomads and location independent businesses. I working with somebody right now that has a real estate and mortgage lending business, as well as a travel YouTube. And there's a studio that I'm working with in New Jersey. So it's really across the board and kind of just based on who I'm currently talking with or who's in my general vicinity. I really just love marketing, love web design, love systems. So anytime I can talk about this, it kind of just comes out.
Got it. Got it. So in the fitness studio itself, right? So what's the typical demographic? Where do they exist? What is the typical attributes of these customers or members? Like, where do I
Yeah.
really go to them? Offline and online. How do I find them?
Yeah. So one thing that I love about my own journey is working with pole and aerial business. Like I was the client. Like I was
Hmm.
the person coming in. And I think oftentimes, again, speaking directly to pole, people are looking for a way to express themselves and exercise in a way that doesn't feel terrible. Like I I was a person who didn't really exercise, didn't find value in exercising, and needed a way to actually connect with some new people that I was working with. And they found Groupon, which I'm not a fan of Groupon or ClassPass because it's taking away from the studio, and I think there are other ways to do it, but if that's your best bet, then go for it. Just try to get rid of it as quickly as you can. But I found it through Groupon, and from pretty much the first spin, I was hooked. And the reasons why were because I was looking for something at that point. I wanted something that would make me feel good, where I wasn't really thinking about like how much time I was in that space. I was also in a point where I was like looking for community, but didn't really know that I was looking for community. And I think the pole industry definitely offers that, good, bad, and ugly, but it definitely has the industry, the community in there. um, I think for a lot of studios, businesses, you're looking for that type of person, somebody that is looking to try something new, especially for pole or aerial, something that maybe they haven't tried before, and really learning about where those customers are. So I think Instagram is a challenging platform, but also a very like lucrative and rewarding one. If you can like correctly and properly position yourself. Um, I think really like learning about, and I'm going to go back here. I think a lot of times pole and aerial studio owners are doing it because they
Hmm.
have a passion for doing it. So
Hmm.
really looking at themselves and being like, who am I and what attracted me to this and how can I show that to other people?
Yeah.
is going to be the best way to reach those customers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think knowing the customer and the motivations of these customers or members are really important. And in your case, as you mentioned, you weren't probably a customer or a prospect for a typical gym, right? So hence you found them on Google and then you got it really into it. Is it very similar for other kinds of customers? Like, uh, I don't
Yeah,
want to get into gym, but uh, these are things that I can try out.
I think for gyms, it's people more looking for a specific type of gym, and what equipment they have available, what their community is like in that gym, what their trainers are like in that gym. So again, I think it goes back to like having that community aspect and also like catering to the people you want to serve. So if you want to be a high intensity gym, then you're going to make sure that your website and all your marketing is surrounded that. If you want to be like a 24-hour gym that somebody can just come into, then you're going to market towards that, the accessibility and how easy it is to access the space no matter what time of day it is. So I think it really is about like figuring out who you want to serve and then figuring out where those people are.
Good. Okay. And you also mentioned Groupon and ClassPass and potential partners, resellers, or marketplaces that you can depend on. And you obviously mentioned that you're not a big fan of these platforms. Uh, are they the biggest source apart from doing advertising, right? So are they the biggest second source of getting new leads?
I think they can be, especially if the market is more saturated, because then you're putting a competitive deal up against somebody else.
Hmm.
Um, it is a way to get in leads, but I do want to say, like, from what I've seen in the business, probably 7 out of 10 of those leads aren't going to be your ideal client. They're
Okay.
either trying it for like novelty
Yeah.
or don't want to spend, like, let's be real,
Yeah.
boutique fitness
Low
is a little
quality.
bit, yeah, boutique fitness is like a bit more expensive. So if you're giving
Yeah.
somebody 50% off all their classes to start out, how it's going to be more difficult to convert those
Hmm.
into regular paying clients. So I'm always a little hesitant to recommend those, but they are a way to get people in the door and looking at your business. And again, I was a Groupon girl. So, and I fully dove in, but I want to say, like, I was the only one out of the four other women that I started with that actually stuck with it. So again, like, probably 7 out of 10 maybe aren't going to be the best people that you want in your space, but maybe they'll tell a friend who will tell a friend that will come through the door. So I don't want to totally knock it, because I think if you're just starting out and you don't have a huge audience and maybe you're in either a smaller town or an oversaturated market, that might be a great way for you to bring in people.
Hmm. So apart from the quality of the leads that these platforms or marketplaces are giving you, right? What are the other reasons why uh, a studio shouldn't depend on these channels?
Yeah, because they're taking away like half of your profit. I think,
50%?
yeah, I think so. Like,
Oh, really?
I
Okay.
mean, I feel like Groupon, I paid like $30 for 3 classes, and this was back in like 2013. But I think the studio owner got $15 of that. And how do you pay yourself? How do you pay your instructors? How do you pay your rent? How do you pay for anything if you're most of your customers are coming through this way and not paying, and then you're only getting half of that, or even 30%, 40%, even up to like 60 to 70%. um these businesses have overhead, and I haven't seen long term where that is sustainable. But if
Okay.
you're going
So,
to have those customers in, have a
uh-huh.
plan to convert them. Make sure that whatever class that they're in, that you can see where they're coming
Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
and make sure that at the end of each class you're offering some sort of package or membership, whether
Mm-hmm.
it be like first time or like intro to insert
Mm.
studio name
Okay.
package where it's like 3 classes, but they're paying you directly versus paying class pass for them.
The
Make
Got
sure
it.
that your instructors are promoting that at the end of every single class so that you
Mm-hmm.
can hopefully get some of those people and send them newsletters as well to
Yeah.
hopefully convert them. um, and I know Bookie
Do,
also
do
has.
these marketplaces send the email and the contact details as well, or is it something that they keep?
You can pull all their details. You can pull emails, you can pull names from it to be able to put
Mm-hmm.
them into your system. But I think, yeah, you can pull all that data.
Got it. So, okay, we've understood that marketplaces is not really something that I should be looking at long term, right? And you definitely mentioned things about building an email list, but even then, that's a really hard thing to do, right? So how do I really get those new leads to come in and try out my trial pack or intro offer? Um, what are the channels and how much should I be spending on these channels to get those leads?
Yeah.
Those initial
Um,
leads.
Yeah, I think advertising on Instagram and Facebook is definitely one way. Google ads are another way. And again, it's going to be totally dependent on your specific demographic for how much you should be spending and, what your business can afford. Um, I think having not just asking people to join your email list to stay up to date with things, like offering them something, offering them some sort of guide or discount on classes or something at the studio. Um, I think also just having good quality content on your social media, making sure that like you're cleaning your camera off before you're recording and you have good lighting and the background isn't too messy and things look nice, and creating content that speaks to that new customer, um depending on where you're at, if there's like a market that you can take part in, and get out and network with other people. um
Hmm.
it's I know there's a studio in New Orleans called the Awakenings, or
Okay.
Awakening, sorry, and their demographic is a lot of service workers. So they do
Hmm.
more flyers for their business, and posting
Oh, okay.
flyers around the city because New Orleans is like a very walkable place,
Yeah.
as well as doing ads and other things. But so it totally depends on your market and what your end goal is. So if your end goal is to get people in the door, then maybe hosting an open house,
Hmm.
and promoting that on platforms like Eventbrite or on
Yeah.
Facebook groups. Just
Hmm.
really making sure that you put your business out there and it's seen in the way that you want it to be seen, that your messaging is on point so that you're talking to
Hmm.
your direct audience.
So how many people should I be expecting uh, for my open house?
Um,
What's a good success
I
metric that
think
I should? Yeah.
if you're in a smaller market and you have like zero audience, maybe it's just like your friends that know about it
Yeah.
or people that you've been teaching maybe at your house or whatever. Um, I mean, I feel personally that a successful launch for that would be like 15 to 20 people. If you're just a small business in a small market, those 15 to 20 people that show up are like everything. If you're have a bigger audience and a bigger market and a bigger space, then I'd see upwards of 50 to 75 people, if not more, but that's totally dependent on your space size.
Got it. Got
And
it.
I would really treat the open house like a
Mm-hmm.
full launch, share
Okay.
behind the scenes, as you're
Yeah.
getting ready for the open house, as you're planning the open house, make sure that you're like posting things about, building out your space and asking polls and saying, which
Hmm.
paint color do you like better? And really, like, especially if you don't have a huge audience, really start building that community so that you have this group of loyal people, that are already really super engaged with your business, and send out the newsletters. Even if that list isn't huge, keep sending them, because you're creating this engagement and people that, are really going to trust you and come back to you over and over again. So really, even though it seems like, ugh, I just got all of this studio opened and everything, like, really treat that open house as a full on launch. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And are there offline channels that I can try out, uh, or is it mostly going to be online?
Offline, like networking groups, are you thinking like that?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned flyers is one thing that
Yeah.
you've seen happen or
Yep.
work for a particular client in New Orleans.
Yep.
Are there some similar hacks or unique channels that people have tried out and have worked for people in certain
Yeah.
communities or areas? Yeah.
I would definitely say talk with the other businesses near you and see if there's any way that you guys can collaborate, to work together to promote both of your businesses. Maybe even inviting them in to partake in that open house and have like some kind of vendor booth. Really getting yourself, I think actually podcasts are a really great way to get your name out there. It might not do the most local traffic at first, but it could long term, since they're just like last forever. Um, I think just getting out and talking to people.
Mhm.
There was something else that I thought about, but I can't remember right now. But
That's all right.
yeah, just putting yourself out there, collaborating with other businesses, seeing if there are markets available that you can, have a booth at. Um, yeah, those are the main
Got
ways
it.
that I can think of.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's say, I have a sizable amount of new leads that I've gotten in through all these, uh, distribution that I've done for my brand, for my studio. And I have to figure out how do I convert these leads into those intro or trial pack, purchases. Um, Now, what are the different angles that I should be taking in my communication? It could be, I mean, I can use the same angles even in my ads. Things like, your studio, your story, testimonials, stuff like that, right? So are there more that I can use in my communication? We already mentioned, email marketing is a big thing that we can do, right? So what should I be uh, what kinds of emails should I be sending them?
Yeah, definitely having some type of nurture sequence when people first sign up, if that's available to you and the software that you have, something that kind of, like you were saying, tells them about you, your story, your studio story, your mission, all of that, testimonials, as well as offering them something, like offering them a reason to come in. We have with Sada and Brooklyn, we have like an angles guide that we offer people. So it's like the best angles to shoot while you're at Sada. So somebody that's coming in for content creation might find that very beneficial. So we offer that on our, hosting page, so that when they land on it, it's come popping up for them. Offering them, even if it's like a very, very small discount. A lot of times people love a sale, love a discount. So offering them some sort of discount or package, a package offer, I think works really great, especially as an intro offer, even if they've been into the studio for a first time class, creating some sort of package as a intro offer so that you can kind of guide them through and explain like why that is an intro offer and how you can get to know the studio by attending multiple classes at the studio. And we're going to do it for, $3 or $5 less a class, or something that's really low lift on your end, but offers the customer a lot of value. Offering, I think, events as well, not just group classes or open studio time, but creating events that cater to your demographic. So again, I'm going to go back to the studio in Brooklyn. We're working on like creating an editor's hour so that people that are already creating content in the studio can come and just edit with other editors, with other people who are content creators in the space, and actually maybe get some work done. Because how often do we just sit and then we end up scrolling or whatever when we're supposed to be doing something? So really thinking about like who's already coming to my space and what type of events I can offer, and then sending out those things multiple times, not just once, but reminding people that that's available to them. Maybe even creating some like not just pole or aerial, but like going to the beach or something like that, so that you have a reason for people to get together. Because I think a lot of times that people are looking for some sort of community to be a part of as well.
Got it.
And
Okay.
then also SMS marketing is huge, I feel like now, and just those like friendly little
Hmm.
reminders that the space is there is something
Yeah.
that converts, I feel like, at a higher level
Oh,
than
really?
social. Yeah, SMS marketing and email marketing, I've seen a much higher conversion than social media.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, of course. I mean, you have these lists, at least with SMS and email. The thing is, there's always 100% reach,
Right.
right? So you may have you know, 1,000 people or 1,000 followers on your social, but there is no guarantee that your posts are going to reach each of those 1,000 people. But at least an email, you know that it'll go to them. It may land on their promotions tab or other places, but it'll still reach them.
And
So
if you're
definitely that gives, yeah,
yeah, and
go
I
on.
want to say if your emails are reaching the promotions tab, this isn't a terrible
Hmm.
thing. I know like
Yeah,
I I personally hate it when it happens, but like it
yeah,
Google is just doing what it's supposed to do, and the promotions
sure.
tab isn't the worst
Yeah,
thing to
it is a
happen.
promotion.
And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And what I'd say to combat part of this is post a story saying that you just sent out a newsletter, and put a link to actually join your newsletter in that. But say like tell people newsletter just went out if you know that it hit the promotions tab, so that hopefully you can increase that open rate. Maybe even put like a picture of the newsletter in it. So there are ways around it, but like if it goes to the promotions tab, don't freak out. It's fine. Send out the newsletter, tell people anyways, you'll still get a decent open rate.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Um, sure. Email and SMS is SMS something that is uh, giving us better reach, or is it much better than emails, or is it
Um,
at the same level?
I'd say it's I'd say it's pretty equal.
Hmm.
SMS is quicker. Like people are
Hmm.
quicker to act on it.
Yeah,
I think
shorter
email,
messages.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think email, maybe people check over time. Um, so I'd say it's pretty equal, but I think SMS, it's still pretty new, and finding ways to effectively do it is still, I think, like this in this trial and error process. Because like I'm one of those people who I look for inspiration in my inbox. I look for inspiration in the messages I'm getting, and like figuring out the right cadence, especially for fitness studios, is still like the trial and error period of like the right message at the right time for the right people and for the right reason.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think SMS is a great channel. Another reason I feel is um, it's not a platform that's abused yet by all kinds of brands.
Mhm.
Email is something that, everyone's sending. It's kind of low effort. SMS is still uh, expensive for a lot of people, and also there's some regulations around it on how much
Yep.
abuse can happen over there. Um and because of those, you have less competition in those in SMS at least. And there's also app notification, which Bookie lets you do, right? So that's something new,
Definitely.
a small plug.
And
Uh,
also, ManyChat, which I feel like
hmm.
is also like a super underutilized tool for fitness studios.
Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
through it sends automated messages through Instagram and through Facebook. If you see
Sure.
those reels, for the audience that's listening, if you see reels and they're like, comment the word workshop below and we'll send you the link, that's ManyChat. And as far as talking about like automating your business, ManyChat is like amazing for that. There's a studio that I work with where we have a full sequence. If somebody DMs us, we have a whole list of keywords that they can respond with that'll give them information about any one of those things. So I mean, everything from sending links to the workshops, or to the class schedule, to cancellations and policies, and all of that is included in that first message that they get as soon as they DM us, and all they have to do is reply a keyword. It's really super helpful.
Oh, cool. Got it. All right. That's an interesting channel. I mean, I think it's ManyChat is something that became popular a few years ago, at least in the e-commerce space, and it's basically Facebook chatbot setup, right?
Yep.
So, Facebook and Instagram. So, yeah, I think that's a great chat. Those are great channels too. Uh, okay, so let's go back. Now I've got a lot of people who have taken my intro offers, right? So how should my communication be different now? The channels remain the same, but what am I saying different that tries to convert people who have now experienced my business, me, my instructors, into long-term paying customers,
Yeah.
right? And maybe there are more channels like there's always a human connection. You can give them a call, you can have a front desk or someone really doing sales for you. But you know, how's the communication different at this point?
Yeah. So I like to say at this point in the game, you should be talking to them like they're a friend, you know? They should be they should know your business at this point. They should know who you are, what you offer, because they've been in the space likely a couple of times. So at this point, you're really wanting to just keep them engaged by continuing to offer them value. So not just sending out, a newsletter with your current offerings, but maybe offering a tip or some sort of takeaway, something that they can learn from the newsletter. So there's a reason to open it. Um, you should definitely be having your front desk person, or whoever is the person that meets other people coming into your business, be recommending each time that they see that person, continuing on, have you signed up for your next class? Is that something I can do for you? But really, the communication should be definitely consistent. So whatever that means for you, whether that's, 2 emails a week, 3 posts a week, making sure that the instructors are promoting whatever offers at the end of classes that you currently have, memberships, group classes, packages, training, anything. Um, but it should be more based on what's currently happening versus telling people about your business.
Got it. How do I ensure loyalty? Because there's always a new studio popping up in the same area, and that's much more colorful, or could be a different reason. But how do I build that out, right? So um, I can get them I can get them to buy a longer term membership. But apart from that, what else should I be doing to increase loyalty?
I think making sure that, one, your space is like clean and has
Mhm.
the things that your current audience needs to have. Um, but also like listening to your clients and making sure that your instructors are also feeling heard, because they're the ones that are in classes most of the time, where a studio owner, unless you're teaching a lot, sometimes the studio owner isn't as involved. So really listening to feedback from your instructors and making necessary pivots. Now, that's not to say you should listen to every piece of feedback and change every little thing that somebody gives you, but definitely having an open mind to being able to pivot and adapt to what your audience needs and what your clients need, um, as well as making sure like your instructors are continuing their education so that they have something to continue offering, making sure that everybody feels like they're working as a team. I think a happy team makes a happy space, and that makes happy clients. So I would always recommend, and it's not something that every studio does, but having some sort of standard operating procedure for how classes are conducted. I think consistency builds loyalty. So definitely having a way that your instructors are setting up the studio or cleaning up the space, or, having music on as people are coming in so that they, feel the energy that's already there. Um, but having those guidelines in place, making sure that your instructors are still learning new things, um, making sure that people feel valued. I love like super long-term incentive programs, not just like you come to 5 classes and you get something, but like you come to like 100 classes and we like give you a sash and a shirt or something to celebrate your 100th class or something like that. Um, and leaning into ways to make sure that like your clients feel supported in their journeys.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Uh, is the referrals or word of mouth something that I can track, or that I can that I
Yeah,
can, push people to do? How would
definitely.
how would I be
Um,
doing that?
I think most platforms have a referral
Hmm.
offering
Bookie
in
has it.
there. Yeah, Bookie has
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
I know Wellness and the other ones do too. Um, but making sure that it makes sense. Like if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. So whatever your referral program is, just I've seen like where you'll get like a free class for every time you refer somebody, and I don't think that's sustainable. Making it like some sort of discount or some sort of special for them, but making sure that it also makes sense financially for your business. But word of mouth is great. Yeah.
Got it.
Let your
And
clients do your marketing.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's always a big channel for all kinds of businesses,
Yeah.
even for us actually. Uh, yeah, I think we've covered the whole cycle around it. I think one more thing I wanted to touch is expansion in general, right? So when I go from one studio to another, right? And actually before it, how much money can I really make from this business, right? So what should I be paying myself, or in the first year, or like how long should it be where I start making real money out of it?
So in the first year, I think it's hard to pay yourself in most businesses, unless you're doing like crazy well. These businesses definitely have a decent amount of overhead. So paying yourself might be challenging in that first year. I hope you can pay yourself something, but I think it's a success if your business is fully operating without you having to put any money into it in that first year. Aside from the build out cost, I think that is a success. And typically in first year, I want to see anywhere from 75 to 100, over 100,000 in revenue, if not more, in a smaller pole studio or aerial studio business. Um, I I don't think, if you are creative in your business and your offerings and how you operate your business, I don't think there's a real limit to what you can do. You can offer rental space, you can offer group classes, you can offer parties, you can offer private events, you can offer the space to photographers, you can offer it to filming. There's so many different ways that you can have different offerings in your business to bring in more revenue. You can offer products, you can offer consulting, you can offer all these different things um, that these studios can easily be $1 million businesses.
Yep, yep. I mean, yeah, we do have a few $1 million business. In fact, that's one of our mission to create at least 10,000 $1 million businesses.
Yeah.
And there's real money that instructors who previously who were instructors are now like real you know, uh, super women, supermen in the industry now making a lot of money. Now
Yeah.
they have multiple locations, thinking about going nationwide and stuff like that. So that's a really good view that we have, and we find it really interesting that the market is growing so fast.
Yeah.
Uh, let's go back to multi-locations, right? So when I expand into a new area, is my playbook going to be the same? Same thing where I research the market, try to use all kinds of tools, try to understand competitors. Uh, is it saturated? Is the playbook going to be same in
It's
that market
very,
as well?
very similar, but you have experience now.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think it's a much, I don't want to say it's a smoother process, but you definitely know more. So you're not going
yeah.
to make the same mistakes that maybe you made before.
Hmm.
But very similar processes to finding the space as far as researching the demographic and all of those things, and then getting into the space, and you're probably going to have a much smoother build out this time around, but and know exactly how intentional you want to be in the space. I think it's a much smoother go around on space 2, and definitely space 3 and space 4 and space 5.
How would the team evolve over time?
Yeah, you definitely want to have a strong, if you're expanding, you need a strong team. Like, you need to have a strong team in place. Somebody that knows operations, somebody that knows marketing, somebody that knows how to be the face of a business. Somebody that is comfortable getting out on social media and promoting and networking with other people in the community. Um, you really The team has to evolve if you're going to open a second space. Whether, and I think it depends, like, are you opening a second space in a different county, city, state, whatever? Because then, you might not be able to have the same team, but really having a standard operating procedure and a way to run your business without you being there every single day, I think is incredibly important to when it comes to expanding. You have to be able to have systems in place so that there is consistency between the two places, so that no matter where your clients are going, they're getting a very similar experience.
Yep, yep, that makes sense. Makes total sense. All right, Tara. I think we've covered the whole breadth of how a business, a typical fitness studio evolves over time. And thank you so much for covering all of that in detail for us.
Yeah.
So I'd really like to thank you for this interview. Again, plugging in Bookie here as a software company, we believe that our job is to make it super easy to automate your marketing and really all kinds of systems and standard operating procedures that you recommend. That's already and it's already out in the market, and a lot of experts and coaches are now recommending a lot of systems and SOPs. We feel like it's time to figure out how we can really make it easy to implement them. Right. So,
Yeah.
Tara, thank you again. Me and I'm sure our viewers too got so much from you today. It's really been great having you.
Thank you so much. And I am probably Big Bookie's biggest fan. The software is so seamless and so easy to use, and customer service is just amazing. So thank you all for being just a great company to work with and always listening to your customer. Seriously.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we continue to do that. All right. Thank you. That's a wrap. Take care. Bye bye.